Okay, so now I want you to consider, um, I mean, also do some research on hive mind technology or cybernetic hive mind, hive HIVE. Now, this is, I mean, having looked at some of the research out there, this is still experimental, but there are some people who are starting to implement hive structures. Now, just briefly describing what it is basically as soon as you allow a chip to be implanted in you for any reason, uh, there are research centers that claim that they can actually uh, decipher the voice in your head. So, when you read a book and you read it out loud in your head, they look at the EEG, which is the electric pattern that's formed on the graph as you're hooked up to the electrodes, um, and they can actually tell what electric signal corresponds to what word. Yeah, so that they're starting to actually understand even pictures that form in your mind. What electric signal corresponds to what picture in your visual cortex. So obviously, still in its infancy, the limited. It's like a limited vocabulary that the technology has, because the complexity of the human mind means that when I'm looking at scenery, I'm looking at more than one object. I can be looking at a complex forest situation where you have trees, animals, insects, all kinds of things. So that's going to produce a pattern that you can't really decipher. But when it comes to looking at single objects, of course, they've got that down to a T. So it's still in its infancy. So, and in terms of implementing it, there's going to be people out there who will come up with different reasons to put microchips in you. Yeah, they'll say, right, we're a company, and we need all our employees to have microchips in them. So then that company might get 1,000 people to have microchips in them. That becomes a hive mind, because now that they have that chip in you, it's just a matter of monitoring you on an EEG, yeah, to decipher what you're saying in your head and what you're actually seeing in your head, yeah. So there will be many hive mind uh, setups, if you like, yeah, or collectives, if you like, yeah, and obviously because there's a high turnover in that industry. You can go online. There's people who say, I used to work on that technology. These are people get fired every day. So there's going to be people released into the general population that have that knowledge. So there's going to be hackers. Yeah. So there'll be people who hack into your hive collectives. Yeah. Everything that a man ever invented that involves computer systems has been hacked into. Even the Pentagon itself and high level intelligence buildings and structures have been hacked into. As long as you're firing people from that sector, there's going to be people in the population who can hack into your shit. Yeah. So whatever hive collective you invent is exposed to hackers. Yeah. So there's going to be hackers. So each hive mind collective is like a matrix. So there's going to be different matrices out there. I don't know if eventually they'll conglomerate into one structure, like the film The Matrix. So that's just the man-made collective. Now, then there is the collective conscious, which was made by God. Yeah. So where people um, are hooked up like natural beings, which basically they act like a collective structure. When looked on a scale, they look like they're moving as a collective being. So human beings are also hooked up to their human collective. But that's a natural structure. Now, for those people who create hive structures, they themselves have a natural brain that's hooked up to a natural structure, a natural collective structure. Yeah. So you can have a man who's got 1,000 people having his chip in his in their hand, but he himself doesn't have that chip, so he controls 1,000 people. That's his matrix, yeah. But he himself has a brain that's hooked up to everyone else's brain in the natural collective. So what I just imagine is like, what would be funny is if you get someone and puts a chip in him, but then that person, when that person thinks, it affects the natural collective. So you have someone in your matrix that controls you in the natural matrix or the natural collective. Yeah, so that would be the Neo character in the matrix, where you've hooked him up to your matrix. You're not part of your matrix, but he controls you beyond that matrix. Yeah, so that film was quite clever. So in the end, if we do all these hive mind collectives join forces and they become one mega structure, a matrix, there will be people who are naturally their rulers, their natural rulers. Yeah, these are people who naturally control them. Yeah, where somebody thinks, whether it's hooked up to your matrix or not, when he thinks, you're gonna hear him whether you have an implant in you or not. Yeah, so by putting him in nature just chooses these people randomly. So these are people that you see as messiahs and prophets. Yeah, but anyway, I've got a song called Innermost Part. Yeah, so where I say my inner space does not materialize into my private life until I choose that path, I choose what I think. And when in outer space, from my skull beyond, I see the human race. They live in outer space. You don't expect your thoughts to be in outer space. So when you're thinking something and somebody complains about it, yeah, then the next obvious question is, how do they know what they're complaining about? If it's something I thought that I never divulged to anyone, how do you know? Yeah, for you to complain about it. Yeah. So you're either using some kind of hive mind, then you start to look for chips in your body. But if you don't have any such chips in your body, then you have to ask yourself, am I a natural ruler? Yeah. Are they knowing what's in my mind? Because when I think, I affect the collective conscious in a natural way. Yeah. So you look at that song, Innermost Part, and then you look at the verses and it says there's a contradiction, what your eyes can see and what your mind can see and what the Lord makes real. Imagination for us, that's fantasy. So you're judging me for having fantasies. So that's telling you to look out for people who discuss things that only took place in your mind, that you never uttered to any human being. If you're in a room and no one's around and you do something in your mind and no human being can see it, if another human being makes reference to that, yeah, then that's something that you say is suspicious. So in terms of the Mandela Effect, when you have these mind collectives, yeah, they can incept an idea in that collective. So let's say you have 1,000 people with a chip in their forehand, your forehead. Then you can tell them that, like I said before, that cars now have wheels which are square, and just something ridiculous like that. Or you can just incept a change, yeah, and just control people on a mass level just by putting an electrically generated program, yeah, into that system. Yeah. So there's a lot of these technologies about, and some of the Mandela effects are due to people being hooked up to hive mind collectives and being told that one thing is one thing, when those who are in a natural collective know it as something else. So there is natural collectives and artificially created collectives. These artificially created collectives are not really parallel worlds in the classical sense of the word, but they're parallel to the natural collective. So bear in mind that technology is increasing now, and some of the reasons why things are being changed is because people are getting cocky now. They've got collective consciousness and they feel like gods. Yeah, they've got this hive mind collectives and they feel like gods. So they think they can make these changes. Now,